Not mashing buttons or following glowing waypoints, but making real choices and living with the consequences. These are some titles that didn't just hold up over time. They expose how modern RPGs have lost their edge. I put Final Fantasy X on this list because, in my opinion, it's the last time the series nailed that perfect RPG balance. It's not just nostalgia, it's the way the game sticks with you. I've replayed it so many times, and every time, it hits different. That's because the story's got weight. You're not just saving the world. You're walking toward a guaranteed heartbreak, and the game tells you that from start. It's not afraid to be quiet, weird, or devastating. It isn't embarrassed to show its weakness. That's why it feels so honest. The combat is turn-based perfection. Swapping party members mid-fight, planning moves with the CTB system. It's strategic without being slow. And the sphere grid lets you shape your crew how you want, even if Kamari ends up as your backup black mage for some reason. Ians aren't just flashy. They're part of the lore, part of Yuna's burden. And Blitzball? Look, once you recruit Nimruk, it's game over. This isn't just a game, it's a pilgrimage. And if you've walked it, you know why it belongs here. I included the Divinity series because it's one of the few modern RPGs that actually respects the player's intelligence. Specifically, Original Sin and Original Sin 2. The earlier entries laid the groundwork, but these two are where Larian hit their stride. The first game has charm and is great in its own right, but it's the sequel that really delivers. I played it solo, co-op, tactician mode, lone wolf, you name it. And every run feels different. The systems are deep, the choices matter, and the game never tells you how to play. It just gives you the tools and lets you figure out. Original Sin 2 leans newer, sure, but it earns its place because it still outpaces most current releases and it feels inseparable from the first now. The combat is tactical and rewarding. The writing is sharp, and the freedom you get in how you build your party or approach quests is unmatched. You can teleport enemies into lava, charm a boss mid-fight, or sneak past entire encounters if you're clever enough. And the origin characters? They're not just flavor. They're woven into the world in ways that actually affect how the story plays out. This isn't just a good RPG. It's one of the few that still feels handcrafted. It doesn't hold your hand, and it doesn't waste your time. If you played it, you know exactly why it belongs here. When Baldur's Gate 3 became the modern hallmark of RPGs, Divinity fans were the people who were the least surprised. The Witcher series doesn't just dunk on modern RPGs. It slices them with a silver sword and tosses the remains into a Lushan's lair. Witcher 1 is a bit of a relic, sure. Combat feels like you're fencing underwater. But if you can stomach the jank, there's a gritty charm and some wild lore buried in there. And with the Unreal Engine 5 remake on the horizon, it's getting a second life.
Olivia went south to the Temerian capital of Vizima.
I can add several more heads to this one.
But Witcher 2, that's where things get real. You're not saving the world. You're knee-deep in politics, betrayal, and morally gray choices that actually matter. Siding with Roach or Yorveth changes entire chapters. Letho isn't just a villain. He's a walking philosophy debate with a bald head and a big sword.
Took you a while?
The game's tighter, more focused, and makes you prep like a real Witcher. Oils, bombs, traps. No button mashing here. Okay, maybe I lied. You kind of have to spam the dodge button. Then Witcher 3 rolls in like Gerald on Roach, drunk and majestic. It's bigger, prettier, and smoother, but yeah, it's also more streamlined. You can ignore potions, spam Quinn, and still win. But the world, it's alive. No VE grad feels lived in. Skellige got soul, and the Bloody Baron quest alone has more emotional weight than most full games. And yeah, it's old now, but with next-gen updates and mods, it still eats most 2025 RPGs for breakfast. Together, this trilogy shows what RPGs should be. Choice, consequence, and a world that doesn't care if you're the hero.
Whatever the cost.
I included the Dark Souls series because it redefined what RPGs could be. These games don't care about your quest log or whether you're on track. They drop you into a decaying world, hand you a broken sword, and tell you to figure it out. And that's exactly why they stand above modern RPGs that spoon-feed you exposition and map markers. The series is the evolution of a blueprint that started with Demon's Souls. While Demon's Souls laid the groundwork, Dark Souls refined it into something unforgettable. It introduced mechanics we now take for granted, stamina-based combat, cryptic lore, and the idea that death isn't failure. It's a learning experience. The remake is a good way to experience the origin of this beloved series for modern players. Dark Souls 1's interconnected world design is still unmatched. You learn by dying, by reading item descriptions, by piecing together lore from cryptic NPCs like Solaire and Framed. It's not just hard, it's deliberate. Every death teaches you something. Every bonfire feels earned. Dark Souls 2 gets flack, but it's the most experimental. Its fragmented world and mechanics like soul memory and health decay push you to adapt. It's punishing, sure, but it also lets you break the game in wild ways. And the DLC are personally some of the best level design in the series. Dark Souls 3 is the finale of the trilogy. Faster, flashier, and more refined. It leans into spectacle, but it still respects the player's agency. Builds are flexible, bosses are brutal, and the lore ties everything together in a way that feels like closure. It's the most accessible, but still demands skill and patience. Together, these games don't just challenge you, they respect you. They trust you to explore, to fail, and to grow. In a genre that's increasingly afraid to let players struggle, Dark Souls stands tall as a reminder that difficulty, mystery, and consequence are what make RPGs truly memorable. The Elder Scrolls series, of course, has to be here. If you're one of the few people who hasn't played them and you're tired of modern RPGs treating you like a toddler with a sword, pun intended, the Elder Scrolls series is the slap of freedom you didn't know you needed. Morrowind drops you into a fungal fever dream with no quest markers, no fast travel, and a combat system that basically rolls dice behind your back. But that's the point. You earn every inch of progress. The lore? Deep enough to make Tolkien sweat. You're not the chosen one. You become one through grit, grind, and cliff racer trauma.
Damn it! It's that prisoner again!
No, he is not one of them.
Oblivion smooths the edges but keeps the soul. Radiant AI, spell crafting, and faction quests that still outclass most AAA narratives. The Dark Brotherhood questline is chef's kiss.
You sleep rather soundly for a murderer. That's good. You'll need a clear conscience for what I'm about to propose.
Sure, the level scaling is jank, but the world feels alive, and the voice acting from actors like Sean Bean adds cinematic weight that is eternally nostalgic.
I was born 87 years ago. For 65 years, I've ruled as Tamriel.
Then there's Skyrim, the Juggernaut. It simplified systems, sure, but gave us dragons, shouts, and a modding scene that turned it into a genre of its own. It's the most accessible, but also the most streamlined. RPG purists might scoff, but the exploration and emergent storytelling are still untouchable.
Take this and hold on to it. I'll be back for it later. I'll pay you.
Together, these games offer freedom, consequence, and immersion that modern RPGs often forget. They don't hold your hand. They throw you into Tamriel and say,
"What's a milk drinker like you doing out here?"
and that's why this series doesn't just trash modern RPGs. It redefines what they should aspire to be. If you've enjoyed the videos so far, consider subscribing for more gaming content. Leave a like, and hit the bell icon, and write a comment about this video. I'd really appreciate it. Let's continue with the video.
The mages had sought to usurp heaven.
Dragon Age Origins is the kind of RPG that makes you miss the days when games didn't need a loot treadmill to keep you hooked.
Until finally we neared annihilation.
It's gritty, tactical, and unapologetically old school. You're a Grey Warden tossed into a world teetering on the edge of a blight, and the game doesn't waste time pretending you're special. It makes you earn it. 6 total origin stories, each with their own flavor, set the tone for a world where race, class, and politics actually matter. You're not just role-playing, you're navigating a world that reacts to who you are. Combat's got that pause-and-play Baldur's Gate DNA, and yet it's not flashy, but it's strategic. You're managing aggro, positioning mages, and praying your rogue doesn't faceplant into a horde of darkspawn. The party banter? Iconic. Alistair's sarcasm?
Yes, swooping is bad.
Morgan's sass?
Oh, lovely. Shall we next begin rescuing kittens from trees?
And Shale's rock-solid disdain for pigeons.
Mostly they involve slaughtering pigeons in creative and invasive manners.
I didn't include Inquisition or DA2 because Origins is the blueprint. DA2 comes closest in tone. Smaller scale, more personal, but it trades tactical depth for speed and reused maps. Inquisition goes big, but loses the intimacy and consequence that made Origins legendary. Origins doesn't just trash modern RPGs. It reminds you what they forgot. Meaningful choices, rich lore, and companions who feel like real people. It's not perfect, but it's the kind of imperfect that sticks with you. The Mass Effect trilogy genuinely made me feel like I shaped the universe. Not just through flashy choices or morality meters, but through decisions that carried weight across 3 games. I've played the trilogy more times than I can count, and every run feels like a different Shepard, but the same emotional journey. Mass Effect 1 is where it all begins. It's clunky, sure. Inventory management feels like sorting space junk, but the world building? Top tier. Personally, it's still the most RPG of the bunch. You're building your Shepard from the ground up, navigating political tension, and uncovering the Reaper threat with a sense of mystery that later games can't quite replicate. The sequel tightens everything. The combat's smoother, the squad is unforgettable. The game shifts gears into more action, tighter squad dynamics, and loyalty missions that actually made me care about every crew member. The suicide mission? Still one of the best finales in gaming. And the third game, despite the ending discourse, delivers some of the most powerful moments in the series. It's more shooter than RPG, sure, but the emotional payoff is massive. The character arcs and world consequences still hit hard. Some hail the trilogy as BioWare's best work, and I can understand why. The Legendary Edition was a game changer. It smoothed out the clunky combat in the first game, tightened visuals across the board, and finally made the Mako drive like something other than a moon rover on ice. It's the definitive way to experience the trilogy now, and it's how I'd recommend anyone jump in.
Let's go, pal.
The Fallout series is one of the best RPG franchises that actually lets you carve out your own story in a world that's already broken. I've played through everything, from the isometric classics to the modern open-world giants. And what makes Fallout stand out isn't just the setting, it's how it treats player agency like gospel. The early games, Fallout 1 and 2, are brutal, slow, and unapologetically complex. You're not the chosen one. You're just trying to survive, and the world doesn't care if you do. But it's Fallout 3 that really pulled me in. That first step out of Vault 101 into the Capital Wasteland, it's pure Bethesda magic. The atmosphere, the haunting radio tunes, the moral ambiguity, it felt like the world was watching me, not the other way around. Then New Vegas came along and divided the fan base among people who consider it the best in the series and people who don't. Factions matter, choices have weight, and the writing without a doubt top tier. I've sided with NCR, Legion, Mr. House, and gone full anarchist, and each path felt like a different game. It's not just about stats, it's about philosophy. Fallout 4 streamlined a lot, and yeah, it lost some of that RPG grit. But the gunplay's solid, the crafting is addictive, and the world still oozes personality. And with the evergreen Bethesda modding community, along with the Fallout TV series, the franchise is always in a healthy state. Even the older entries are getting more attention now. Despite the horrendous launch, Fallout 76 improved massively and is now a different beast with its own dedicated community. 3, New Vegas, and 4, to a lesser extent, is where the real RPG sandbox magic lives. These games don't just let you play a character. They make you question who that character is and what kind of world you're trying to build in the ashes. The Pillars of Eternity series is here because it's one of the few RPGs that made me stop and think, not just about builds and tactics, but about the world itself. The first game hooked me with its soul mechanics. You're a watcher, cursed to see echoes of past lives, and the game leans hard into that. It's not just flavor text. Your choices ripple through the story in ways that feel earned. Combat's real-time with pause, and yeah, it takes a bit to click. But once it does, it's deeply tactical. Positioning, interrupts, resistances, it's not just about damage, it's about control. And the companions? Durance is a walking theological crisis. Grieving mother's story still haunts me, and Eddar's dry humor carried me through some brutal fights. Deadfire builds on everything. Multi-classing, ship combat, faction politics. It's more open, more reactive, and lets you shape the archipelago however you want. Pillars stands out for how it blends philosophy, lore, and player agency. It doesn't just give you a world, it asks what kind of person you want to be in it. And that's why it belongs here. Vampire the Masquerade. Bloodlines is an RPG where your choices don't just ripple. They mutate everything around you. I've played it more times than I'd like to admit, and every run has been completely different. Whether I was sweet-talking my way through LA or as sewer-bound as Ferrado, hiding from humanity, the game responded to who I was and not just what I chose. That kind of reactivity is something you don't see that often. The writing hits hard. Conversations aren't just exposition dumps. They're loaded with tension, politics, and twisted philosophy. Factions like the Camarilla and Anarchs don't just exist to be picked. They challenge your views on control and freedom. And playing Malkavian is a whole other experience. The dialogue feels like prophecy wrapped in nonsense, and somehow it works. Ocean House still gives me chills, and Jeanette? Well, you never forget Jeanette. Compared to other entries in the franchise, this is the one that fully commits to being an immersive, reactive RPG. It's not just about vampire powers. It's about identity, morality, and survival in a city that doesn't care if you exist. Bloodlines might be dated, but with the community patches, it's more playable now than half the RPGs released in recent years. It's messy, ambitious, and unforgettable. And that's exactly why it belongs here.